Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's great to see everybody again. If you haven't done so, make sure you like, you subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me on social media. I really appreciate it. But anyway, let's get into today's video. I want to talk about albums in my vinyl collection that are career-saving albums. So if not for the release of these albums, these bands probably would have died. It would have been over. So it's kind of like, at the end of the game, you hit a home run. You know what I mean? You're down and out, but you end up winning the game, and that's what these bands did with these releases. They got back from under the gutter and hit a home run and saved their career, basically. So I managed to go through. I grabbed 10 really quick. Let's see if you guys agree with me on some of these. Let's roll. First one. Black Sabbath's 1980, Heaven and Hell. So I talked about this on a previous video that the last album that Black Sabbath did with Ozzy in 1978, called Never Say Die, was not critically acclaimed at all. Fans did not like it. The band did not like it. The band was going through a lot of turmoil at the time, and Ozzy ends up getting fired from the band, essentially. So you would think that Black Sabbath is over. It's done. Many fans thought, well, Ozzy's gone. It's over. It's done. But Black Sabbath manages to get back on track, and they get Ronnie James Dio from Rainbow on vocals. And with a new singer and a new, fresh start, they write some killer music, and they come out with Heaven and Hell in 1980. And man, it's just a, catapulting chance for Black Sabbath to really kick some ass. And man, it's just such a, there's the guys on the back, there's such a great album. And rarely does a band 8-9 albums in create sort of their masterpiece. And I believe that this is, when I think of Black Sabbath, other than Paranoid, Master of Reality, I gotta go with Heaven and Hell. And that might be controversial because it's not Ozzy. But it's just such a fantastic album. I highly recommend it. Next album that it would have been over if they didn't release this album was Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet, 1986. This is their third album. So the first album that was self-titled, Bon Jovi. The second album, 7800 Degrees Fahrenheit, released in 1985, I believe. They sold modestly, but no real big, strong hits. No real big MTV play, no strong radio play. Still opening for bands. So they were not even a headline act yet. So I think the record company was saying to them, this is probably your last shot. The third album here might be your last shot to do something before we drop you from the label. So John Bon Jovi and the guys took it seriously and got themselves a top-notch producer in Bruce Fairbairn, top-notch guy in songwriting named Desmond Child, whose name you'll see on the credits in here a lot, and production team, Bob Rock, big name, Mike Frazier, big name. So everything was lined up perfectly for this album with production, engineering, songwriting. It's all here in spades, right? So, upon, this album being released, bam, skyrockets the band. They're all over MTV. They're all over radio. And, it saved them. So, I definitely think this is one of those make or break albums and a career-saving album, Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet. Next. Talked about this album in a recent video as well. Heart's 1985 comeback album, which many people say that it is. Again, kind of like the Bon Jovi thing, where the last two or three, the previous 2 or 3 albums to this one did not sell very well. The band had a hard time adapting from the 70s to the 80s, I believe. And, the hits, they weren't coming. So again, what do? You do what Bon Jovi did. You align yourself with a very, very good producer in Ron Nevison, who had worked with Led Zeppelin. And you get some great songwriters in. I think there's a array of different songwriters on this, but many hits on here. Brought the band back to form, got them on MTV, changed the look up a little bit, and boom, there you have it. They did the right thing as far as I'm concerned, and they got themselves back into the top of the heap there in the rock genre. So there you go. And this album has the awesome Denny Carmassi on drums from Montrose. So you can't go wrong there. But yeah, definitely a comeback album and a career-saving album, I believe. Next. Another one. Same scenario. Same story. Janet Jackson, 1986, Control. A lot of people are wrong when they think that this is her first album because it's the first time maybe you saw her on MTV or you heard her on the radio. This is actually her third album. She had two previous albums to this one, self-titled Janet Jackson and an album called Dream Street. Both had a lot of her father's influence and maybe some of the brother's influence, not really sure. But this album, again, you bring in award-winning, hit-making producers. You bring in Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, who from the time, and they were working with a lot of R&B acts at the time, so they were hot. They were hot as a pistol, and her management was right to bring them in. And man, did they do an awesome job on this album, not only in the production, but their songwriting is so good on here. And give this one a chance. A lot of people say, "Oh, I know that one. It's got it's got this title track, Nasty, What Have You Done For Me Lately, When I Think of You." But I like the ones on here that don't get radio play are the ones that I like too. Or Let's Wait a While, He Doesn't Know I'm Alive, Funny How Time Flies. Those are all great songs too. So check this one out if you're not, if you're only familiar with the hits, check this one out as well. It's pretty good. And on the other side of the spectrum, but again, kind of this is a different story than we've heard so far in this video. Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz. I guess career saving in the way that it started his solo career. But again, thrown out of Black Sabbath in 1979, and a lot of people counted him out. They said it was over. Ozzy is washed up. It's over. It's done. And he thought that too. And he hid out for a while and kind of sulked for a little bit. But his record label and manager Sharon Arden, who would later become his wife, got him off of his butt and got him to put a new band together, which he called the Blizzard of Oz at the time, and found Randy Rhoads, the magnificent guitar player, to come in and just write some awesome riffs, write awesome material with Ozzy, and hit it out of the park, man. And this really started the whole thing, of Ozzy's solo success. So I would say, if not for this album, we would only be hearing about Black Sabbath. You would never hear about Ozzy Osbourne anymore. Same guy, different scenario. This is 10 years later. Ozzy Osbourne, No More Tears, came out in 1991. So this is the follow-up to the album No Rest for the Wicked, which a lot of people, I'm not sure sales-wise how it holds up to the rest of his catalog, but I just know for me and some reviews, critics, fans, that album, the production on that album was kind of weak, which is odd because Keith Olsen was involved, who was a mega producer, and I don't know, maybe they just didn't gel. I think Roy Thomas Baker also was a producer on that. First album that featured Zakk Wylde on guitar. And I don't know, maybe they just needed time to gel and kind of get together. So this one followed, No More Tears, and man, they hit it out of the park with this one. Just massive radio hits, massive on MTV, and put Ozzy right back on top again. A lot of, I know he worked with Bob Daisley on the songwriting on this that he'd done in the past, but I think a couple, 2-3 songs on here are written by Lemmy from Motorhead, which is a surprise because it's a lot of some of the more poppier songs written by Lemmy. So she's showing off his skill as a songwriter on this, which is pretty cool. Another cool thing on here says Mike Inez from Alice in Chains. It says he plays some bass, but also inspiration and musical direction. So, like, big kudos to him because this was a big hit record. So, if he's providing the direction and inspiration, he must have had a pretty big say in here. But Zakk Wylde also coming through with the riffs, bringing that southern rock aspect in songs like Time After Time, Mama I'm Coming Home, Road to Nowhere. But man, awesome album, holds up to this day. The production team on here of Dwayne Barron and John Purdell, very good, very, very good sound on this record. Next up, career-saving albums. Yes, 90125. I talked about an album called Drama on a previous video, and that was the album before this one, and there was an album Tormato before that, and Going for the One before that, and every album sort of kind of went, down a little bit. It wasn't like the heyday of Fragile and Close to the Edge and that stuff. So the band was kind of down and out and actually disbanded in 1980, maybe. And some of the guys had gotten back together with some new guys, and they were going to call the band something different. I think they were going to call the band Cinema, and convinced John Anderson, the original singer, to come back into the fold. And with him back in the fold, you had every right to call the band Yes again. So this was kind of a reunion / comeback / career-saving album in the fact that it was a hit. And you had the song in there, Owner of a Lonely Heart. And Leave It was a big song. Hold On, Changes. So big record for them and a big return to form for them. And also just an awesome album, songwriting-wise, production-wise. The playing on it is ridiculous. Just early technology-wise is kind of really ahead of its time in terms of one of the first bands to use sampling and certain synthesizers and stuff like that. So definitely recommend that album for sure. Another big comeback album, career-saving album, because maybe he was down and out. People thought was Eric Clapton. This is 1989's Journeyman. The previous two albums to this, 1986 August, 1985 Behind the Sun, saw Clapton maybe not so sure of himself. He's trying other things. He's going in a pop direction. He's working with Phil Collins, synthesizers, going for a real poppy, radio-friendly sound. This has that too, but in a way better scenario. I don't know, just seems more of a adult contemporary album and really finding himself again with this album. Songs like Bad Love, Old Love, Running on Faith was huge. No Alibis was huge. Pretending was a huge song off this. He does an awesome version of Hard Times from Ray Charles. And just, backing off of the, maybe the Phil Collins way of doing production stuff and getting a little more, just a solid band together and sounding the good production. And so there he is right there on the back, looking cool as ever. Now that's my Eric Clapton. That's the Eric Clapton that when I think of Eric Clapton, that's the man right there. There he is. So definitely check the Journeyman out if you haven't. Here, number 9 is Kiss, Lick It Up, 1983. The album, the 3 albums previous to this one, you had Music from the Elder, you had Creatures of the Night, Music from the Elder, and then Unmasked were the previous 3 albums to this one. All sold very poorly. Couldn't really tour the States with any of those albums. Tried, and not good attendance, and seems like things were pretty grim. Probably as low as any of the records I've shown before. This band was at the lowest point of probably any of those bands I've showed. And they made the wise decision to take off the makeup in 1983, and this was the first album where you ever saw Kiss without the makeup. And a pretty smart move, because I think Paul Stanley said in some interviews that at that point people were judging the band by their looks and not the music. All they saw was the makeup, and maybe that was getting a little old hat, and it was time for something new, and they were very right, because this was them without the makeup for the first time. People saw it, and now people could just take it as a band and just listen to the music, and the music on here was fantastic. A lot of songwriting on here from guitar player Vinnie Vincent, who was a magnificent guitar player and songwriter. And this is just a really cool sort of Kiss embracing hard rock and heavy metal, which was very big at the time in the early 80s. So embracing the hard rock, pretty heavy album. I like it. Check it out. Last one I want to show of a band that was down and out at the time, New Edition. The album previous to this one was like a doo-wop album they had done called Under the Blue Moon, and it only featured like 3 of the members on it, or 4 of the members on it, I'm sorry. Bobby Brown had left the group and went on to solo success with the album Don't Be Cruel, and left New Edition in the dust. So what did New Edition do? They did the right thing, just like we had talked about with Janet Jackson. They took her playbook, got with Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, and got a new guy to replace Bobby Brown, Johnny Gill. And fantastic voice, totally different than Bobby Brown. Really brought that adult R&B sound to the group, and added that, and Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis bring a new jack swing sort of style to the group, but definitely brought them back big time. Million seller here, Heartbreak, has the songs If It Isn't Love, Can You Stand the Rain, Boys to Men, Where It All Started. Awesome album. This is one where I can play from front to back. It's just an essential listening if you love R&B music, 80s R&B, and really proud to have this copy still in the shrink wrap. Still got the Tower Records sticker and the Hype sticker on there, and can't go wrong with that. And there they are on the back with the track suits, and man, so cool there. So definitely pick up this one. Awesome R&B album from New Edition. Well, there you have it. 10 career-saving albums. If I forgot any, or you want to add some to the list, make sure you write me in the comments. And thank you again. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Follow me on social media. It's all there for you. Hit that little button. Let's do it. And I'll see you guys on the next video. See you later.